Get stacked.
Triple threat.
Expected value. Now take what you learn, go out there, and get stacked.
What up, Gripsters and random YouTubers? Evan here for Grips.com, continuing with my review of George Archer 1066's victory in the Wednesday challenge on 888 Poker for just over $7,000. This was a $35 buy-in 2x chance tournament. If you haven't watched part one, I would really encourage you to do so, because we talked a lot about, his approach coming into this tournament, and we saw some of that firsthand. So we are seeing some lag play. We are seeing some really laggy play. Archer's focus, or George's focus, is on the ranges of his opponents, what hands they are playing, what hands they can represent, what hands they are most likely to have, and therefore he's playing against that. He's not so much concerned with what he has. He's concerned with what his opponents would believe he could have, and then he's just repping the heck out of that. We've seen some light 3-bets, we've seen some floats, we've seen a lot of creative play, which is a very refreshing thing to see. At this point, we have about 40 big blinds and change. Blinds are 200, 400, and antes are in play, so we can justify playing a loose approach. And just because Archer is so loose, I am probably not going to be skipping many, if any, hands, because I just never know what hands he's going to open. And that's when I can see the cards. It's it's very tough to play against an opponent who is capable of playing and opening a lot of hands and a lot of pots. Because it's just so hard to put them on a hand. And if you have a hard time putting your opponent on a hand post-flop, well, it's going to be hard to outplay them. So here with the ace-5 suited, I'm just checking the notes. He didn't think the implied odds were that great, and that's why he opted to raise up the opponent rather than overlimp. This is a great board for us to c-bet, but unfortunately our opponent tried to take that play away from us. Now we can think, if he's donking out on this board, he probably doesn't have a king. He probably has like a 9 at best. But with these players on 888, you never know. Sometimes they'll limp call with the king 10 and just start hammering out when they fire top pair because they're afraid of exactly this, the ace coming. Once we cut the ace, we love our hand. We're never folding. It's a call, call, call. And I think that we could probably bet that river for value. This guy's not checking a 9. He may be checking a king, and it's pretty hard for him to have an ace, even if he does, we're chopping. And if you don't want to bet full all in, because you don't think he'll call you even getting his 3-to-1 odds, bet something small and give him a chance to tool out. Anyway, we see that Mini 111 has 6-10 of hearts that he limp called with and donked for half pot. 888 Poker, we play different. Sign up link in the description. Just trying to help y'all make that money. And George is going to show us how that's done. Now, this is fun. Blinds are now 3-6. We actually have a playable stack where a lot of the other players are really short. They don't have room to do much other than reshove all in. So we can just open lots of pots. People's continuing ranges are going to be very narrow because they don't have flatting as an option. And they don't really have that much 3-bet bluffing as an option. Because to 3-bet and fold with the stacks they have is quite bad. It's just not something I want to do. So that means that their range for continuing pretty much consists strictly of hands that they are 3-betting for value, and that's just not that many hands. Here we got a shove of 4 big blinds. Really don't like this ISO. See what the notes say. He says he raised to ISO and take good odds. The good odds being that we are risking 3,600, 3,700 to win 5,500. We need 40%. I understand the concept here, but what hands exactly do you think King 4 offsuit has 40% equity against? If this guy has a pair, you don't have it, and this guy has an ace, like you really don't have it. So this is just an unnecessary gamble, and there's no reason to not just fold this hand pre-flop. Remember, your job is not to bust the other players in the tournament. Your job is to just pick up chips where you can. And two massive buckshot barrels. Gets the job done with the sixes. Given that our opponent didn't see bet the flop, an ace is not a huge chunk of his range. He could definitely have kings or queens playing this way. He could have jacks or tens as well. Those hands are going to pop us back on the turn. So we're basically betting this 8K and being done with it. Once our opponent checks, I think he could still have an ace. It is a high risk play, but great reward comes to those who are willing to take great risks. And we flopped that 6. I opted for a slow play. Not say because the board was dry. This board's really not that dry. And at this point, our opponent's pretty much committed to the pot. Even if we have him like drawing really thin, to fold him out here when he's getting 5-1 isn't that bad. He would need to have less than 8 outs for it to be a bad result for us to have him fold here. Either way, he's going to check back a lot of rivers. With 20K in the middle, it's unlikely to expect that he's going to bluff the end. And if he has a king or an 8-7 or a 6-5, we want to make, or a flush draw, we want to make sure that he commits that money to the pot rather than seeing the river for free and being able to check fold. Or, well, fold behind in position. And now we got heaps of chips. We got 60 big blinds where no one else has anything. And we can be applying that pressure. Go for the 3-bet, C-bet. I think with this one, it's interesting. I think I like just peeling here and taking the odds, but we can attack this loose player. And on this board, we're just hoping that he has the Broadway portion of his range. Earlier, apparently this guy folded ace-queen. Okay. Get jammed on. This call is not good. Okay. George, you are pretty reckless, to say the least. Creative, but reckless. He claims that he's priced in after he shoved. I don't see what you think you're priced in against. Yeah, it's 4.5K to win 20. You need 20% equity. If this were pre-flop, yes, you're priced in. That rule about calling when you have 2-to-1 odds or 3-to-1 odds, that relates to pre-flop, where your chances of winning with, you know, a 2-card hand against even a strong hand like ace-king is generally at least 33%. But after the flop, those go out the window because let's just say that the only card that's good here is your ace, so you have 3 outs. You have 16.5% chance of winning. If your ace is good, you could be drawing dead. I think this is a bad call of the shove. And we got quite lucky there. Yeah, please go ahead and explain what you think you were priced in against. And in general, if you think you're going to be priced in when you have a really junky hand, you should avoid betting amounts that are going to force you to make mathematically correct call-offs with like a really low chance of winning. You want to have some equity. 3-bet call with the tens here, easy. Oh, wow. How could we have lost? Unlucky there. We would have had 100 big blinds if we won that, but we didn't win that, so we have 30 big blinds, and we're going to try to get some more now. Here, even if we put our opponent on aces, it's an easy call. We are getting 10-1. And oh man, I love when people do this, and I'm just like, right before I click the call button, I'm like, well, I'm probably not in good shape here, but this price is just too good, and I somehow have the best hand. Why? Why, oh why, crazy Matza, would you do this? Well, he did. Yeah, we're just going to see some more craziness. People opening for 4x, cold 4-betting it in with ace-8 offsuit, no fold equity. I mean, George is showing us some pretty crazy play as well. And here we're getting okay odds. It's 2K to win 7. The issue is that Zeki's made it a full re-raise, 1K more. So Run Folks Over can just reopen the betting and block us out of the pot here. So I think we should just fold rather than risking getting blown out. But once we call it's a dry side pot, we're just going to check this down until we have what's certainly the best hand and get it betting on the river. I understand that we're getting good odds there, so it's tempting to call. But when it's like really thin, the odds that you're getting, you only want to take those spots when you are certain that you are going to get to see the flop. When there's any risk that you may get blown out of the pot or blown out of the hand, you do not want to make those calls. The worst thing you can do, or one of the worst things you can do in poker, is put chips in the middle and not get to realize any equity for it, because you put those chips out there and then subsequently folded your hand before you saw if you were gonna, realize your equity or not. Here we're facing a 10 big blind shove. We have ace-9. Against a correct shover, we are not ahead of their shoving range. Against the players on 888, there's a good chance we're going to be ahead of their range because they just shove with anything. I'm not a huge fan of this call because while we may be ahead, we are probably very slightly ahead if we are in terms of our winning chances. And there are still 4 players left to act who can wake up with a hand. I'm much more comfortable calling with ace-9 versus all-ins if I'm in the big blind than if I'm in mid-position. George decides that's what he's going to do, and we win a flip. But again, as we've seen, George is someone who's very much interested in taking on variance that is at peace with all the flips that happen. Pretty even equity in this spot, all of the kings. And if you play a gambly style, where it's all about just let me get the chips as quickly as possible so I can put them to use, then you take those thin spots and you take those spots where the odds are close, and you take every little 3-bet and 4-bet spot you can because you were the guy who was in there. You were the guy who was mixing it up, and you become the guy that no one wants to deal with. No one wants to fuck with you. You get a lot of fear equity. You can scare a lot of people off by playing this style. And it's amazing for deeper in the tournament when there's more up for grabs every pot and the blinds are worth so much and there's so much to be gained by 3-betting. People are just going to let you get away with it. It's like, that guy? No, I don't want to play with him. But it takes some serious heart, some serious balls to be able to incorporate this style and not lose your mind. Anyway, easy raise call here with pocket jacks, and we win another flip, sitting with 100K. Good amount of big blinds. And based on what I see in the notes, we are going to start playing a lot of hands at this point. There's a lot in the middle. Stacks pretty shallow for the most part. Most players only have about 20 big blinds. So again, they have that range where they're not going to have, or they're in that situation where they don't have room to have that many bluffs, and therefore their ranges for continue are going to be pretty narrow. Here, we're facing a full 3x, so I see that I'm a little concerned, but remember, you can't get caught in your ways. You can't just say, oh, well, a 3x always means a strong hand. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We look at this guy's stats. He's playing 29-24, which is extremely loose, and from late position, he's opening 2 out of 3 buttons, 1 out of 2 cutoffs. He's opening a lot, and his full to 3-bet is 100%. So, we've got a blocker in our hand. Why not risk 8,400 to win 8,400? Even if he calls, we can fire a c-bet. And this guy, look at this. 3.25 to 1. He needs 24% chance of winning. We can be certain that whatever 2 cards he has at least a 24% chance of winning versus our ace-3. But instead, now he's like, I don't want my equity. Just take the pot. And boom, a very nice play there. Nice pickup. Even if he calls, yeah, there's 20K in the middle, we have a pot size bet. We might still be able to win that pot with a c-bet when our opponent misses the board. So it's not like it's game over if we get flatted there. It's game over if we get jammed on, but then we just fold. We don't have the price to have to call off there. Oh, I should have known that we were going to play 2-6 offsuit. This is a great stack to be stealing from. Please fold. Oh, come on, man. I mean, okay, I know you're getting amazing odds. It's 18 to 1. You only need 5%, but do you think your 6 has 5%? You really think this guy's gonna put you in with ace high, where you have your 24% with your 2 pair outs? The other thing is, do you want people to see that you're raising with 6-2 offsuit? One of the things about having that crazy reckless image is the mystique of like being capable of doing anything. But you don't want people to see that you actually have nothing, because you always want the mystery. You always want them wondering, oh, he's doing a lot, but is he just getting hands, or is he really just that wild? Once you show a 6-2, you expose yourself as being someone who didn't have much. And although people see you're willing to do anything, you're willing to get in there with it, and they see like, this guy played 6-2 offsuit, and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna take a stand against this guy now, because they see just how ridiculous you're being. So be ridiculous, but don't make it known that you're being that ridiculous, because then people are going to adjust. They're going to be a lot less afraid of you when they see something that just looks kind of dumb. And the notes say all around horrible play, so I won't harp on that anymore. We'll learn from the good and we'll learn from the bad. You know, we will make easy calls with ace king versus 7 big blind shoves. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. 4. I think we could probably go with a smaller raise size than 3x. Although 3x does look scary to some opponents, and it's interesting how it works. Against some people, 3xing will invite wider reshoves because they stand to gain more when you fold. And against other opponents, it will bring out narrower reshoving ranges. People will fold more hands to your open because they realize you're going to be getting better odds when they shove on you, and they think you're going to be calling more often. So mixing up your raise size there can be really beneficial if you know why you're doing it. Now, some people are going to see that and be like, oh man, this guy's 3xing, he must be bad because I min raise and he should know that he should be min raising. Well, you know what? There's value to min raising, there's value to 3xing, there's value to 2.5xing, there's value to limping. It's all about knowing why you're doing and what you're doing. Okay. Here we peel out of position. We are getting quite good odds, 3 to 1. And once we flop an open-ended straight draw, I think we are going to be check. I think we should probably just check raise and go with it. Archer calls, and now that we river to flush, we can bet for value. Yeah, once we call, there's a pot size bet left, so it's kind of what I talked about. I think in part 1 when we flopped the draw, you know, if we put it in here, we put in another 50K, and he's going to call, so we're playing to win 150K. We're getting 2 to 1 on our money, and that's the odds of making a straight. So our pot equity is just spot on. Plus, if our opponent ever folds, we're making chips off all that fold equity. So here, just check shove. Don't check call and then risk getting barreled off on the turn. You flopped about as good as you're going to flop. And when you get these draws and the pot to stack ratio is really low, stacks or shove, just play it fast, see both cards, and hope for the best. We ended up winning here. And I guess if it goes check-check and the river's not a club and not a 6, we bet and take it down. But why give the guy the opportunity to barrel us off when we have a hand that doesn't have a lot of showdown value? We're going to defend? Yeah. Gutter. Min raise. Leveraging the villain for the stack. What are you going to do, bud? I'm ready to go with it. Like, yeah, we have a gutter, but he doesn't know that. What does it look like we have? Looks like we have like a jack that we're just inviting him. Please come in, buddy. I don't want to lose you. Come along for the ride. It's fine. And it's a great hand to bluff with. Like, even if we get called, we can check back the turn and see 2 cards for the price of a min raise, and we have a 16.5% chance of hitting that gut shot. And then if we hit it, we can extract value. Better than making a bluff with a hand that has absolutely no no outs, no equity, no chance of winning if called. Of course, if it's a spot where your opponent's just going to fold whenever you make that play anyway, your cards don't matter, your equity doesn't matter, but it never hurts to have a little bit of extra equity. And things go fast. At this point, we're already down to the final 3 tables, I'm pretty sure. As we peel with a hand that's going to do totally fine against a loose opener, raising in mid position. Flop, we have 2 overcards, great to float with, and when he checks, let's just take it away. And okay. Yeah, this may be the final 2 tables already. Final 3 tables. This tournament went fast. But that's probably just because I'm clicking the buttons so fast. So let's see what the notes say about this Jack 3 suited. Just a pretty retarded play. Dunno what I was thinking. LOL. I love the honesty in these comments. Well, let's see if we can find any good in it. Our opponent is opening off a stack of 19 big blinds, which means if he's not willing to go with his hand pre-flop, he probably doesn't have room to flat. He's probably just going to have to fold if he doesn't have a strong hand. He's playing 30-23, so he's opening wide enough for sure. And his full to 3 bets 83%. We're risking 15K to win 13K, which is pretty nice. Should I do a quick calculator to see how often we need to be successful? 53%. And if his full to 3 bet's actually 83%, then this is profitable. Now, I guess that post-flop there's going to be some silliness, and that's the retarded play that he was talking about. Because pre-flop, this is fine. The key is to respect, okay, this guy's opened off a shallow stack and called a 3-bet. He's probably not peeling wide. He's probably, just trapping. And if he's speculating, it's probably with king-queen. He's going to 4-bet in the hands that he doesn't want to take flops with, like the pocket pairs, and he's going to just slow play the ace-kings, the king-queens, maybe the ace-kings, and the aces and kings. So once he calls, we're just done with the play. We've made a profitable 3-bet pre-flop, even if we check fold the flop, which is what we should do. Is 3-bet pre-flop? Fine. Against this type of player who's raising in late position, who's going to have a wide range, that's totally fine. But don't then throw good money after bad. Your play didn't work. This wasn't one of those 53% of the time required to be profitable. This was one of the other 47. And that's it. When you make a full pot size spew off here with no equity, that's a lot harder to get back, and that's a lot harder to justify. This has to work 50% of the time. And I'm just thinking about the range that he's going to raise and call a 3-bet with. I don't think there are a lot of hands that are going to be folded. I don't think half of that range consists of hands that will fold to this bet. So, as you said, pretty retarded play. After the flop. Pre-flop, though, fine. Pre-flop, fine. And again, we've been exposed as being someone who doesn't have much. That's okay. We still have chips, and there's the other benefit. If you make some really fishy plays, if you can then tighten the screws a little bit and play solid, you are going to get infinite amounts of action. Your implied odds on any pair are through the roof once people see you do things like that. The issue lies in the fact that most people who make plays like that are we don't need to put a label on it, and they're not really capable of flicking the switch and suddenly playing solid, suddenly playing a really just deadly approach. They tend to continue doing crazy, silly things because that's just their makeup. But if you can do a couple of those things occasionally and then immediately adjust to the new image that's come from that, there can be a ton of value. If you know the table's going to stay together, if stacks are deep enough, if people overcompensate to fishy play, yeah, there can be some value in that. But if you're going to be a clown, you have to recognize who now thinks you are a clown and adjust your play accordingly. Just want to be sure that we flatted a raise pre-flop. Yep, and we flopped quite well. The play is to just call down. And I think on the turn we could bet with the intention of folding if we get check raised. We're not going to get check raised by a bluff here too much. And it protects our hand, but either way, checking back, guaranteeing the showdown is perfectly fine. And looks like the pot control worked out well for us because instead of losing 3 streets of value, we only lost 2. But we're back down in the trenches, we're scrounging. Maybe this is the final 2 tables? I don't know. Next time it gets 6-handed, I'm pretty sure we're at the final 2 tables. And here, okay. This goes with George's style of going for big flips and taking pot odds. So he assumes that Hubert is isolating to get good odds because that's what George was doing. We saw George do that with the king 4 off. He was isolating to get good odds. And the natural tendency of a human being is to assume that other people think the same way you do. So if you like to isolate people to try to get good odds, you're going to assume that other people are liking to isolate to try to get good odds, which is often incorrect because people don't think the way you do, people don't play the way you do. But that's our default reaction. It's the easiest thing to do is assume people think like us. And it's so hard to put ourselves in other people's shoes and get inside their head and get inside their thought process. But that's what makes a really good poker player. So, is he isolating to get good odds? Maybe. But we have to have seen that from him before and know that that's the way he approaches the game, not just the way that we approach the game that we're then projecting onto him. So George now sees even better odds for him that if he isolates, not only is he risking 4K to win about 20K, but we also get an extra 4K back immediately for getting the other player to fold. So interesting isolation here, but if you look at all that math, if you are very confident that Hubert's going to fold, you are getting the right price to gamble with any 2 cards against Mammoth because it's 4K to win 30K, actually. Plus, you're getting the free 4K back from Hubert. So if you have a good read, you can do that. But again, be very careful about assuming that other people play the same way you do and think the same way you do, because it's a very common tendency and it's just not right. It's just not correct. And it's going to lead to a lot of mistakes. If you play lag and you assume everyone else is playing lag, the nits are going to rock you. And if you play super nitty, when people start lagging it up on you and 3-betting you a lot, and barreling a lot, you're just going to assume that they always have it because you would always have it, and you're going to get bluffed like crazy. So it's really important to understand the different styles that people will have, the different approaches they can have to the game, and adjust your game plan based on the way that you think they're thinking about the game and approaching the game, not the way that you personally approach the game. So that's going to wrap up part 2 of this video. I hope that you learned a thing or two that you can add to your game to become more profitable on the tables and big up that bankroll. Please leave your questions, comments, and feedback in the comments section of the video. And when you're done with that, you know what to do. Take what you've learned, go out there, and get stacking.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking.
Stack it up, cash it in, damn I win again. Many friends come to play, cause I'm on the internet. Better yet, I flop the turn and take a chance up on the river. I'll bluff you with the 7-2 offsuit, whatever's clever, call you all in while your chip stacks falling. Better believe the dealer, cause the game just started. Don't know the rules, you bet it all and then you risk it. If you wanna learn it, you should go online and hit up Gripsit.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you had to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Ever since a young cat, want a pocket stack with cash in the fast stack, crammed in the clam click. Gotta get the action, gotta get it stacking. Dollars on the noggin, want a lot of transactions. Started as a little retarded, now with the knowledge, playing cards, flopping, bombarded, cause it was harder than I thought. Then I got on Grips.com, asking and got what I needed to be to me get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com taught you how to get stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com taught you how to get it stacking.